Hello again. This is Shonda Schaefer, CEO of GRACE, and welcome to GRACE Gabs. Today we have a great guest. I'm so excited. Mayor Laura Hill, who is obviously super busy at this time of year, but she has taken time out of her very busy schedule to join us. So thank you, Laura. Welcome to GRACE
Thanks.
Gabs.
I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, you're
always
amazing.
Looking forward to a good gab, right? Always.
That's right. That's right. Well, I know I've been following you on Facebook, and I was talking with Giovanni Capriglione and remembering what seems like ages ago when you and he kind of called together some leaders of our community to start thinking about what this could become.
Right.
It probably wasn't that long ago, but it seems like it. So you've been at the beginning of this. You and your leaders that you gathered together have been thinking about what this could possibly be and how it would affect our families and the community long before a lot of people even really could wrap their heads around it. So for that, first of all, I want to thank you for doing that. But tell us what's going on in Southlake and how you guys are holding up over there.
Well, I think we're holding up okay certainly with the help of organizations like GRACE. There's so much uncertainty out there right now. And I think that's really the biggest issue. People that thought they had their lives in control, didn't see themselves as living paycheck to paycheck, all of a sudden got a big shock when the boss called and said, don't come to work on Monday. And, they add to that our parents are now not only caring about their child's welfare, but also their child's education, and many aren't suited to do that. I mean, it's not anything they've ever challenged themselves with before. So I think families in Southlake are struggling in a different kind of way than they've ever had to struggle before, and they don't have their friends to grab onto and to hug and to tell them everything's going to be okay. So, I've been asked what's the word I would use to describe all this, and it's really uncertain. Every day is uncertain. I mean, I find myself too, waking up and saying, I can do this today. I'm going to get out and take a walk. I'm going to go get fresh air. I'm going to go run groceries for my mom and dad. I'm going to get some things done. And then other days I'm just can't get motivated. And I don't think if you'd ever told me I would be like that, I would have believed you. But I think we're all learning new things about ourselves.
I think you're exactly right. The whole never say never has become quite a deal. I would never have guessed any of this. And I know you also run a business.
Yes.
So I was curious, how's your business holding up? Are things going okay?
Yeah, so our publishing company, we've been in business for 35 years, and this is the first time. Now, we had a bit of a shock during 9/11, but never anything like this. We've been closed for 5 weeks now. My sales team actually live out in Arkansas and Oklahoma, where we have directories, and they have not been able to work. They're commissioned salespeople. So my dad and I had made a decision. My dad's retired now, but he lives in Argyle, so we chat about business all the time. And I called him and I said, well, all that savings, I guess we have something to use it on. So we went into this from day one, telling our employees that we were committed to paying them, and we're even paying our commission salespeople their average take-home pay for the last 6 months. And now, having said that, we've gotten lucky along the way now because they opened up the PPP loans and we were able to apply for that. But we went into this whole thing. I called all my employees together in mid-March. And I said, I'm the mayor. They obviously know I'm the mayor of Southlake, and our company's up in Justin. And I said, I hold myself to a higher standard. This is starting to get scary. And I think it was 2 days after we had the meeting with Gio. And I went into work and called everyone together. And I said, we're going to go to halftime. I said, I don't want more than half of you in the office at any time. And we're going to work shifts. And then I think it was a week and a half after that was when we were, deemed to be non-essential. And so we closed the office down. So, I just didn't want them to have any fear. Most of them have worked for me for about 15 to 20 years. And there was no way I needed them to go home and be worried that they wouldn't have their paycheck. So, yeah, we're very fortunate. But again, we've been around for 30 years. And when things were really, really good in the economy and for our business, we saved our money. And so we had the money to help the employees out. And now, of course, we have funding from the bank, so that will help too.
Well, I got to say, that doesn't surprise me. Having had the opportunity to get to know you over the last several years, you know, you are such a good spokesperson for our community and for the people who live here. But I've been able to see some things that maybe other people don't get to see, that is a genuine from the heart commitment you make. It's not just because it's your political platform. It's not because it's what people want to hear. You truly have a heart. And such, I actually wanted to remind you, and I'm sure you remember how we first started working together. We had a family in Southlake, which, as you pointed out at the time, was a shocker for a lot of people who live in that community, that within a stone's throw, there was a family who was suffering so horribly financially. We had a bunch of little kiddos running around and not enough food on the table. And so you and I kind of got together over how we were going to help that family. But I know that at the time you mentioned that was such a shock to you. And I know that we've talked since then, but what are your thoughts about that?
Well, it actually was more than a shock. It was embarrassing. I had no idea, as the mayor of a city, that there were families that were struggling that badly. I mean, those folks had next to no food in their refrigerator, and they were within a 2-minute drive from town hall. And I didn't know that they were there. And it was humbling. It was something that needed to be talked about. Fortunately, I found that there were a lot of people that wanted to talk about it, and there were a lot of people that wanted to help. Sometimes we just don't know who's out there, and people are very prideful, and I don't blame them. They don't want to share their personal problems, their personal struggles, and many times they're trying to do absolutely the best they can. They just don't know how to do better. And so with our partnership, in that case, you know, the city reached out to you because we were way in over our heads, and you all had the expertise to help that family, you know, get the help that they needed. And really, as it turned out, it was just a couple of things we really could do to help them, to get them back on their feet, but we had to have the expertise, and more importantly, someone who they trusted. They don't need the mayor of Southlake coming over to their house and telling them, you know, what can I do to help you? No, they need someone who has who's done it before, who has the resources, and who can walk them through the path, because it's never you can't write one check, right? You can't put them in touch with one person. It's usually a journey to help them get better.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. And I'll tell you, that particular family, we continue to support them. I mean, the reality is that when you're living, you know, paycheck to paycheck, one little blip, you know, a car breakdown, a couple hours shaved from your paycheck, and you need just a little assistance to get over that. So I wouldn't say we're supporting them, you know, independently, but every now and then they'll come in for food or assistance. And so that relationship that you kind of helped us build, I think that's exactly what GRACE is about. And I think it's about, it speaks to the relationship we have with our community leaders, that we can do this together. So thank you for that, of course. What else, is there anything else we can be doing to help support Southlake or you? What can we be doing as a community?
No, I think, you know, the great thing about GRACE is that your reputation is out there, and it's so solid in all the communities that people see you as a trusted resource. I would bet that there are many people who have actually donated time to GRACE and to GRACE services that are now finding themselves in need of those services. And what I love is that I feel confident that they're not going to be afraid to ask, because they've been on the other side and they've seen what you've done for other people. But I would bet going forward that we see, unfortunately, a lot of new families that find themselves that one paycheck away from disaster, or that one disaster. You know, what happens if your refrigerator breaks in the middle of this? Or what happens if, you know, a child falls and breaks their tooth and you've got an emergency surgery with the dentist? Anything that goes wrong right now for so many people can be the difference between getting through this and not getting through this in one piece. So I think what you're seeing with GRACE and the reputation that you've built over so many years is really going to be what's solid for these folks. They know they can trust you. They're not embarrassed to come to you. And most people know that you've always been there to help whoever needed help.
Well, thank you. I hope that's true, because it's certainly, that's where our heart is. And there's so many good people. I got to tell you, and I know you know this, but you know, between staff and volunteers, the people it takes to run this organization are amazing. But it's been, you know, we're talking about never would you have ever heard me say please don't come volunteer, you know?
Oh, right. Oh, right.
And it has been
Exactly.
crazy. So many people want to give of their time and they're in a position to do so. And I want so badly to give them that opportunity, but the reality is it's not safe for them or for our clients. So what that means is we've got a staff that is working double time and they're doing all the right things. They're staying safe and healthy, and knock on wood, we have no COVID positives or really any big scares. But man, we had to open that food pantry 7 days a week where we normally are just kind of Monday through Friday, and they're working 10-hour days, keeping the food flowing in and out. And so I appreciate you saying that. I think it is a reflection of a lot of people in this community have worked really hard over the years to make sure Grace exists for this unexpected need that we have. But well, you also know, we were chatting earlier about North Texas Giving Now on Tuesday.
Yes.
I think that'll be a really positive way as people are looking for a way to help. And I know you're aware of that. You've heard of that.
Yes, absolutely. And I think I'm hopeful people will really give and will go beyond to give, because as you said, people are desperate to do something wonderful and give back and feel like this whole quarantine wasn't a lost cause. And I found myself looking for philanthropies that I can give to. You know, obviously you put out, an ask when you first started getting hit with all these new families, because quite honestly, I will never look at food the same again, because even in my own community, people are afraid that they won't have a meal and they're not sure how they're going to feed their children the next day. And so I understand that food is, knowing you can eat is so important. And so I think on the 5th, I think a lot of people will step up, and I'm hopeful that people will really step up, because this is their opportunity to do something incredibly meaningful, so that when they look back on this quarantine, they say, you know, I maybe couldn't leave the house, maybe I couldn't volunteer, but I was able to give to make a difference in people's lives. And I think that will mean a lot to a lot of folks that are looking for meaning right now. I mean, seriously, we all want to feel good about ourselves, and this is a great way to feel good about ourselves.
Well, I hope you're right. And I do have so much faith. And already we have seen such amazing things. You know, it's heartbreak one minute. You know, I'm hearing stories of families that are just falling apart. You know, the idea of isolation and child abuse and neglect and senior isolation, and it can weigh really heavy. And yet I turn the corner and there I'm seeing these amazing creative ideas about ways people can help. And that's inspiring. And that's what kind of brings us all through this kind of dark cloud. I think doing the work we do, sometimes you can get a little beat down, but having the opportunity to see all that wonderful stuff is what makes it it makes it bearable and in fact enjoyable.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Laura. I appreciate you. I know you're busy. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. And most importantly, I appreciate your leadership and your commitment to our community. It's really admirable. And I look up to you. You're a mentor of mine, whether you know it or not. I love that. And I watch you and I try to emulate. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good rest of the day.
This was lots of fun. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Take care.
Bye-bye.